Hello. In today's video, I am painting a small painting of the oasis of the desert's eye, which I envision as being a small oasis at the middle of the desert. So I'm going to be making the pupil into the a body of water, and the iris into patches of sand. I began by filling in the center, the pupil with a deep blue that I was using as a base, as a background color for the water. Here, at first I did a very rough circle, and then I added shape to that circle to make it less round. Mostly because I felt like a perfectly round oasis felt, I don't know, boring. Like for the concept of the eye, it might have been better, but it felt right to not make it a perfect circle, make it more natural feeling. So that's the way I went with it, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I feel like it was a good decision overall. This painting is was made on a 5 by 5 inch canvas, um, and it's the third painting I've made in the Great Eyes series. The first one being the volcano's eye, then the forest, and now the desert. Um, I am planning on making 25 paintings such as this. I don't I have most of the ideas figured out, but some will still need to be thought of. I won't spoil the surprise on what all the ideas are right now. You'll have to see them when they come out. But I'm having quite a bit of fun. I'm just not as regular with it as I would like. And now that the base coat is done, I'm adding some texture. So for the texture, you can see I'm adding some small thin lines of blue that follow the shape of the pool of water of the oasis. This, to me, was the to represent the light of the sun being reflected by the oasis and on the waves, like the top of the waves would reflect all the light, or I don't know if it's the top or the bottom of the waves, but it represents the waves. Now I don't know how much waves oases have. I'd imagine they're mostly stagnant. Maybe I really, honestly don't know. So I'm saying uninformed information here, but it felt right to me for there to be light being reflected in waves. So that's how I did it, and I'm really happy with the result, regardless of realism. Now for the second section, now I'm painting the sand. To do that, I used a small sponge on a stick that I purchased for just this kind of purpose. And I made first a base coat of just a normal yellow. I think it's a primary yellow. I'm not certain because I'm not an expert on anything, but I basically just added a thin coat of paint while just using the sponge to kind of stamp it on the surface quickly, and that made a really nice texture. That was too flat for my taste, and so later on I added, uh, with the exact same technique, some sections of another se- of a slightly deeper orange. That way, I was able to get some texturing. Now, the texturing isn't really that visible on on when filmed like that. I don't see it that much, but it's a very subtle texturing that the sponge does. And these are the zones I did with a bit of orange. Those made like hills and stuff, and it looked good to me. On camera, it's very subtle. So, but the importance to me is mostly on how it looks in real life, because that's how I'm going to be able to see it most times. And here, with the sand finished, I'm painting two little palm trees viewed from above. Um, I planned initially on editing maybe three, but it felt right after having done just two, so I stopped there. I didn't want to overdo it. And so for the palm tree, the first one I did lines to figure out where the leaves would go, and then I made the leaves thicker and kind of pointed towards the end, which went well. Now I don't know how many batches of leaves, branches, palm trees have. Uh, Here, once again, I went with my heart, and so I think one has 6 branches and the other one has 5 branches. Yeah, I just looked at the physical painting besides me, and yeah, one has 6, the other has 5. So for the first one, I figured out where the leaves would go, and the second one, I just went all in with the leaves from the beginning. So, beginning. Sorry about that. I stumbled on my words, which went well. I don't know if one or the other is better. It feels smarter to plan it ahead a bit, like I did for the first palm tree, with tracing initial lines for all the leaves and then making them thicker. But both are valid, I think, and they work about as well. But knowing that it feels better to plan, I'm probably going to be sticking with planning paintings more than just winging it. And now for the skin color. I was planning on using one of the color already used in the painting to do the skin in most cases for the great eyes, but in this case, um, I didn't want to do the yellow of the sand or the orange because it felt like it would blend too much with the iris, with the sand and the iris. And I didn't want to do the blue of the oasis because that would be, I felt like it would clash with the feeling that it's the oasis is not the important part here. It's the fact that it's the desert. So I went instead with a deep red because it's hot and the desert is hot, so it makes more sense than using the blue, and it's not as blended together with the yellow and orange. So it felt it's I felt it felt like a good color for this specific painting. Now there's a bit of painting here. Apparently, when I hold it in my hand to do this part of the painting, the corners tend to be mostly out of view. Sorry about that, but that's just how it goes. When I'm focusing on not going over the line with a brush stroke, I'm not paying any attention at all to how I'm centered camera wise. So yeah, you'll just have to deal with that. I'm going to try to be more instinctually aware of that, and so that I'm not going to be having that many issues about that. But until then, part of the painting will be out of frame. That's just how it is. And that's pretty much it. Final thoughts on this specific painting. It was, although it's a lot simpler than the forest or the volcano, it felt good because it's still different. It's one that's purposefully, by conceptually unsymmetrical. It's more conceptual, I feel, and I like it a lot. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to come by whenever you want. Bye.